Most talking you to talking to you from behind a steering wheel, drinking a blueberry latte. Um, I'm currently uh, in Wisconsin, and I was born and raised in Minnesota. So anytime I got to go to the North Shore up by Duluth, um, Grand Marais, like the shores of Lake Superior, like that was heaven to me. And I never really explored Wisconsin because, well, let's face it, the Packers played there. And I'm from Minnesota, and there's this rivalry, and I never really knew how incredible Wisconsin was. But I got married to a young lady who was going to become a math teacher, and the rest is history. We had twin boys. We moved out to Wisconsin. Um, I was trying to be a national park ranger, guys. So that's kind of where my expertise in adventure comes from. Like, just like working in Yellowstone National Park, Glacier National Park, I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers as a student park ranger on at Black Hawk Park, right on the shores of the Mississippi River uh, in Wisconsin. And I worked for the Forest Service at a Job Corps center that they ran out in Nemo, South Dakota. Um, and I had an opportunity to work at the Bonneville Dam with the Army Corps of Engineers. They offered me a full-time park ranger job there, but uh, my family situation kind of, I mean, we had twin boys, and my wife had a teaching contract, and she didn't want to come out there with me, and there was some pressure, and so I decided to buy a little 7-acre farm and be a stay-at-home dad. Um, but the call of nature and everything. So, I got a job with the Forest Service at their job course in Nemo, and anyway, through a long series of events, I ended up working for Boys Town, where I taught at-risk youth social skills for about 4 years, 4 solid years. With a break, we went to Door County, Wisconsin, which is extremely beautiful. Almost bought a farm. I had a land contract all lined up for a 40-acre farm. Should have bought it. They wanted $230,000, and at the time, that seemed like $1 million to me. And I didn't know how that would turn out. It would have been a $75,000 down payment, and then I would have had to figure out how to get a mortgage, and I would have 3 years to figure that out. And it just seemed kind of scary at the time. I mean, now that farm's probably worth 600,000, maybe more. It was like perfect location south of Sister Bay. Anyway, and it was really beautiful, man. But all that to say, I have a passion for the outdoors, and I've always dreamed of living and working in beautiful places. Currently, I'm a little bit off course as far as my job uh, title. I'm a uh, what am I? Do you call it a what am I? I'm like a security officer, basically, and I work nights, and that gives me the day. But I work nights, so I have to sleep also. Um, but I'm also trying to work on becoming a conservation warden with the state of Wisconsin. Um, I'm in the middle of the application process. I have an interview on Sunday. There's a physical fitness test on Tuesday. But I feel like my interview skills are probably the rustiest. And I've been working on doing push-ups more than I've been working on interviewing skills. And so I feel like it's going to be competitive, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do in the interview. I think it could go either way. I could either, have a moment of inspiration and, talk clear and concisely and answer the questions beautifully, or I could totally flop. I've had both scenarios happen in my life where just just talking about regular things kind of I get a little tongue tied or start getting goofy. So it's like I was born for that job, but I can't say with 100% certainty that I'm going to get that job. But I think if I put a little bit of effort into running through some practice questions and like stuff like that, I mean, I'm pretty much built for that job. I have an extreme passion for the outdoors. But anyway, those are some things I'm working on personally. Um, I've been to 47 out of the 50 states, which is pretty awesome. I've been to most of the states multiple times. California, Maine, Washington State, Montana. Like, I've been around. I haven't just flown through, landed at the airport, and claimed that I've been to the state. Like, I've spent some good time in 47 states, not including Delaware, not including Alaska or Hawaii. But those are going to be coming up one of these days. I feel like a lot of like outdoor adventure people might pick Alaska for being like maybe the best state. I mean, the Outdoor Boys channel, they're coming out of Alaska lately, even though they retired, kind of. Um, but honestly, out of all 47 states, there's a couple that stand out in my mind. Um, I'm gonna say Wisconsin. Um, will take number one, but it honestly it could be a toss-up. It just so happens that I'm in Wisconsin and I've been here several years, so I'm gonna put Wisconsin at number one because it's green. There's four seasons. They don't quite have the mountains, but they have they have some mountainous terrain. It just doesn't go up and up and up forever. It's kind of like you get 500 to 900, maybe if you're lucky, you might get 1,000 feet of elevation change. Uh, as far as sightseeing goes, I do love mountains. There's something to be said about mountains. So I'm gonna go New Hampshire, number two. Even though New Hampshire's a toss-up, also like I could put Montana in there, and I'm not saying the entire state of Montana. I'm mainly talking about Glacier National Park, Kalispell area. It, the Black Sea Reservation. Like, I don't know. There's something special about the culture. You get like you get tourists. You get like Native Americans and all those cultural aspects. You get really beautiful mountains. You can see the Great Plains from Glacier National Park. So, you know, there's contrast there. There's bears. I love it. If I could move anywhere, I'd definitely want to move to somewhere around Glacier National Park. That'd be my top choice because you got adventure, you got hiking, and I love it there. I think I think I'm built for Glacier National Park. I worked there 2 summers, so I have experience. I have lived there before, but only seasonally. I mean, I'm sure winters could be a little rough, maybe, but I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't pick and choose. Um, but then again, you know, you get wildfires and stuff, and so it can be kind of smoky. That makes things not as fun. Um, so gosh, just based on that, Wisconsin, so far, it's very, they get rain, so it's very green most of the time. I mean, they do get some drought conditions, but I mean, it's very green. Trees, it's beautiful. It's not like crazy hot, but you get some hot days in the 90s. If you're lucky, you might get a 100-degree day. But I mean, this year so far, it's been really beautiful. All of June was like 70 degrees. I think we've had maybe two 90-degree days so far, maybe three. It's been pretty chill. In the Driftless region, you got hills that can pass for mountains. You know, it's not crazy. I do love mountains, but you know, for being stuck in the Midwest, there is a variety of landscapes. You know, you can go for a hike and get some elevation gain. Go to Devil's Lake. That feels like you're in the mountains. Um, and then if you love the water, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Door County's a lot of fun. Washington Island. If I could move to Washington Island, I would also move to Washington Island. I might pick Washington Island over Glacier National Park. I actually might, because it's kind of cool how you get there. You got to get there on a ferry, um, and it's got a little culture. You can have a little farm. Um, they got beautiful beaches. It's just kind of a neat, quaint kind of a place. I mean, I'm sure there's other places like, you know, Michigan has a bunch of islands and stuff. Um, but I don't know. Washington Island Glacier National Park. But then I'd also look at somewhere around Littleton, New Hampshire. There's like some small towns there, right next to the White Mountains. A lot of hiking trails, a lot of beautiful rivers, and you can have a lot of adventure up there. Fun little towns to shop around in, coffee shops, all sorts of stuff. I almost moved there. I had a couple of different job offers. I almost took them, and I do regret not taking them. Um, almost moved to Pittsburgh, New Hampshire. My wife was going to teach math, and I was going to be like a math intervention kind of a person. Um, just a nice, quiet little town. You couldn't go any further north without hitting Canada. And then you're close enough to Canada where you can like go to Montreal in about an hour and get some culture or whatever. Hear some Canadians speak French or whatever. So I don't know. there's a lot of places. I've been to like Missouri, Arkansas. There's some cool places out there that have scenery. But I think you got to have some good hiking trails. You got to have some waterfalls, some rivers, some streams. I think the perfect place is a place that has a good mix. And then also, I don't mind a little bit of civilization. I don't want too much. Like I'm not a big city boy per se. Even though I have lived in North Minneapolis, I've had season tickets to the Minnesota Twins. I've kind of, I've experienced living in the country, living in the city. I do like living in the country, and I am pretty stinking lucky right now. I live right on a river, and the river cuts through thousands of acres of like state land. So there's a lot of nature in the Driftless region here. You can go trout fishing, which I've never done successfully yet. Um, you can go trout fishing, lots of hiking trails, lots of state parks, lots of coffee shops, lots of little farms, Amish people. I don't know. I think I live in a really cool area, and I feel really lucky about the land that I have. When I was gonna move to New Hampshire, though, um, Colebrook, we were looking at a place in Colebrook, and it was right next to the Colebrook School, and it was on the main road, and I think it would have made the perfect coffee shop. And they only wanted $100,000 for this house that had like, I don't know, 6 bedrooms, and it was a beautiful house. But the only problem was my wife's teaching job was in Pittsburgh, and winter driving can be a little challenging. And the kids couldn't open enroll, and she wanted the kids to be at the school that she was teaching at. So we almost bought this house, but we didn't. And then there was 12 acres of land across from Beaverbrook Falls, which is a pretty nice waterfall, and I think they wanted $50,000 for it, and I almost had the perfect setup in town where I could have a coffee shop, and then a beautiful 12 acres where I could grow berries, see a waterfall across the highway. Um, it was pretty cool, but I feel like even though I missed out on that setup, getting my little farm, I think it could have been worse as far as like trying to build a future and including like the outdoors in my living situation. So right now, like I can go anywhere in the world. I can go anywhere in the world from my front door, basically, uh, in an adventurous kind of way. Like I can just hop in a kayak and go anywhere in the world, which is pretty cool. I mean, I could walk along the roadside, but to like be able to just hop in a kayak and be in nature, and if I wanted to kayak to Antarctica, I mean, it'd be impossible, but it's kind of cool that I'm connected because I live right on the river. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, this channel that I'm live streaming on is, I'm kind of like I'm doing some garden stuff, I'm doing some farm stuff, I'm doing some adventure videos. I've had people tell me that my better videos are probably ones where I'm on an adventure, and I would agree. I would think I'm probably more passionate about just getting lost and exploring. However, that takes time and energy, and I'm raising a lot of children and stuff, so I don't always really have the time and energy to go explore the world. My schedule is a little funny too. I'll get like 7 days on, 2 days off, 7 days on, 2 days off, 6 days on, 4 days off. And, those 4 days are, I've really seen the 4 days be the time that I have to go explore. Um, in June, when I had the 4 days off, we went and explored some caves in Iowa. That was pretty cool. I'm just coming into 4 days off right now, but I'm working on uh, this conservation warden job. I have an interview on Sunday, and then Tuesday I have physical fitness tests that I need to do. So I feel like this 4 day weekend is kind of tied up. Um, I really need to study for that interview because I'm kind of nervous. Like, I need to be able to come up with examples. I'm not going to know the questions until just before the interview. I think I'm going to be given 20 minutes or 25 minutes to like review 3 of the 4 questions I'll be asked. Um, and I think those 20 minutes of reviewing the 3 questions, I think that's also part of the job, like how they're going to judge me, because I'm going to have to analyze whatever. I'm going to have to like take notes, think quick on my feet. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, because I've never done it before. But worst case scenario, it's just an experience, of putting myself out there and applying. I think I would try again next year if they have a conservation warden application process. I think I'd apply again because it seems like pretty much the only job that I could get for a full-time job that I could get out and about and do what I'm passionate about. So if I'm not successful this go around, I think I'll just use the next year to practice, become better at speaking, understand the process, and I think my resume and my attitude are very strong. I think they want integrity because you're out there basically on your own, making your own hours. You kind of have to be self-starter and stuff like that. And I mean, I got plenty of evidence of self-starting my YouTube channel. I'm definitely producing content. I think I can do better though. So once once I move through this process of this conservation reward and interview situation, whether it's positive and I end up getting the job, or it's not so positive and I don't get the job, I think I'll be able to kind of refocus my energy and, uh, probably work a little harder on the YouTube channel here to make good content, work a little harder in my personal life, uh, stuff like that. And you know what? Prepare myself for applying for next year. So it's almost a year-long process to like interview, send in the application, go through the processes that they have set up for like the interview process, and then getting a conditional offer and then accepting it and starting. I think it's literally an 8-month process from beginning to end to get this conservation warden position. So if I strike out my first time here, maybe I can do some ride-alongs, ask more questions, do more research, practice interview situations, come back stronger. However, I mean that's worst case scenario, and I like to prepare my mind for that, and that kind of helps me, like, kind of just prepare because I don't want to be super disappointed. I got to be kind of optimistic here. And I'm 41 years old. I've been around the block a lot. So, anyway, um, but yeah, well, there's so many good spots. There's so many good spots. I kind of picked some places that I'd live if I wanted adventure. Like, okay, in Wisconsin, there's 3 locations that are worth their weight in gold. Somewhere in the Driftless region, probably north of the Wisconsin River, if you're in Wisconsin, as long as it's in the Driftless. Uh, and then you want to be up on Lake Superior, so somewhere around Superior, Cornucopia, Bayfield. Um, is it Ashland? My memory is not serving me well right now, but is that town called Ashland? Anyway, anywhere along Lake Superior in Wisconsin would be nice because there's a lot of hiking, a lot of nature, a lot of waterfalls, a lot of cool things. Then obviously Door County, um, but Door County is kind of spendy now. I've been keeping my eye on the real estate market there, and 10 years ago it was kind of hard to move up there, but now it's like, holy cow, there's nothing affordable at all. 10 years ago, you could find a place to live for 150 to $250,000, but that was still some good money. Um, Now it's like 300, 400. I mean, 300,000 is just entry level, and you're not going to live anywhere north of Sturgeon Bay, and then it's going to be like 400,000, 500,000, a million. Like it's crazy expensive. You might be able to get some lots up there around Ephraim, well, a little bit further north. Probably north of Sister Bay, you can find some lots for 100,000, 150. I don't know. Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. But Door County is very beautiful. Um, Definitely a preferred destination in Wisconsin. Then you move to like the White Mountains, anywhere north, Littleton, uh, Lancaster, uh, all the little towns in between, just north of the White Mountains, like 20, 30 miles north. Uh, I would definitely move there in a heartbeat if I had to set up a job and everything else. I'd definitely move there. Then we're going Glacier National Park. You know what? I would say South Dakota isn't bad either. I lived in Rapid City for a while. Um, it's kind of cool. I put somewhere around the Black Hills on the map, like Rapid City. I would say that's a cool place. People will say that maybe it's a little rough or something. I think I think it's a nice place. So we'll put Rapid City on that list. Um, and then I would go like maybe somewhere around the Ozarks. That's kind of nice. It's hard to pick though. I mean, I don't mind like Arkansas, like maybe someplace around Hot Springs, because you got some mountains there. They got waterfalls. They got fishing. They got like you can go mining, diming. Wait, mining, diming. You can go diamond mining. A little bit south of the Ozark Mountains. I don't know. It's kind of cool there. Um, Definitely maybe Asheville, North Carolina. That's another spot. Hurricanes, but that doesn't happen every day. But I would throw North Carolina in the mix. In fact, North Carolina might be one of my likely uh, retirement locations. I mean, anywhere around Asheville, Maggie, Maggie Valley, or whatever. Like, it's a nice area. You got mountains, you got some streams and stuff. Charlotte's kind of cool. I mean, so I'd go somewhere there. Rhode Island, it's kind of busy around there, but I did live there for 4 years, and it's kind of understated. The ocean's pretty. Um, there's good people there. So 3.5 hours, you're up in New Hampshire at the White Mountains. You know that isn't a bad drive. I mean, you can go all the way from Portsmouth, Rhode Island to the White Mountains, 3.5 hours. So it's like, you get 2 days off, boom. That's an easy trip. But we took that trip a lot. Like, we got a little weekend off. We went up north, stayed in Littleton, stayed in Bethlehem. It was pretty. Um, where else? Washington State. I I considered moving there, but we're talking maybe north of Seattle. I mean, prices are pretty expensive, but Bellingham, like pretty close to the Canadian border. I'd go there. I'd go somewhere between Portland and the Dalles. I don't know. I think that's how you pronounce it. Somewhere along the Columbia River Gorge. There's not like a crazy amount of options, but it's pretty in there. You got a couple volcanoes. You can get out to Portland. You can go out to the ocean on a weekend. Um, Eugene, Oregon. I don't. I know some people out there. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, sure. I'd put that way at the bottom of the list, but I'd consider because you got Crater Lake, not too far away. You got the redwoods. You got the ocean. So that'd be cool. California. I go south of San Francisco. I wouldn't mind the ocean. I mean, I don't have millions of dollars, but that'd be cool. Eureka. just a little further north, maybe. But I don't know a lot about the culture up there. The big trees are cool. Um, I mean, the giant sequoias are pretty neat. But I'd be concerned about like wildfires. It gets pretty dry out there, and it's a tinderbox, dude. We went there not last summer, but the summer before that, and we were driving by wildfires and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know. That makes me nervous. Like it was pretty wild. Um, did I run over a baby bunny? I don't think so. Colorado Springs. I'd go Colorado Springs. I'd consider that. Um, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good list. And unfortunately, you get one life, and you can't be everywhere at the same time. And like I don't know, Glacier National Park's calling me, dude. I want to go to Glacier National Park, uh, pretty bad. And I was hoping to go out there for a vacation, but I'm not sure if we're gonna make it out there. Time will tell. We might be able to, but I think it would be a more dedicated trip to Glacier, like, and then we'd have to turn around and dinosaur bones. Maybe go through Yellowstone on the way home, just for fun. Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore. It's a cool trip. I do want to do some hiking in Glacier and film. I took some incredible hikes in Glacier National Park when I worked there. Um, Going to the Ptarmigan Tunnel, hiking up to Swift Current Pass. Um, some really nice hikes that I'd like to capture on video. But it's like the hikes that I did, I feel like it was just a sweet spot because I didn't get eaten by a bear. And it's like the more you go on those hikes, the bigger the chance is that you're going to run into a bear that's going to eat you. So it's like, the fact that I survived those pretty epic hikes was pretty cool. I mean, in fact, I hiked all the way from the Many Glacier Hotel to the Loop, which is on the Going to the Sun Road, straight through. Took all day, and it was a heck of a hike. And if I could have filmed that, bro, that was that was epic. It was just nothing but hiking. And I was doing it with another guy, and it's like that's rare. It's just to hit that sweet spot where you're with somebody else if something happens. That was epic, and I want to replicate it, but I don't know how. I don't know how to replicate, but if I could, you know, it's just like it just goes to show um, that you have to take chances, and yet you gotta have adventures because you never know if you're gonna get the chance to do it again. And in my case, like I've done some incredible hiking that I'm not entirely sure I'm gonna be able to do again. So anyway, not sure what I'm saying exactly, but holy mackerel, guys. Well, I'm home. My blueberry latte is complete, and that's pretty much all I have. So hope y'all get out there and explore and utilize the time you have, and take some chances because you never know, if you'll get those chances again. If you got an idea for an adventure, uh, get out there, explore, take some chances, subscribe, and maybe just maybe I'll take you on some adventures because I'm not done. I'm not done exploring. I'm not done having fun. And there's going to be adventures that are going to be pretty exciting. So that's all I got. Have a good one, guys.